Honestly, I feel like everyone I've met has some grand story of why they wanted to leave Nigeria, but I don't. My story is just pretty boring and straightforward.
My wife made me leave Nigeria. She basically gave me an ultimatum and said, hey, I'm going to be leaving with or without you. So I was like, okay, I'll go with you. If I can make it in Lagos, then I can make it anyway. When
I was in secondary school, my mom, she always wanted her kids to be able to travel, to be exposed. She got me a visa to go to the UK, and then she paid for my flight, and she was like, okay, go spend, I think, a midterm break with my uncle. So I got on the plane. I think it was British Airways. Yeah, I think I still remember that. And then I got on the plane and we're like, okay, 6 hours, let's go to London. Let me see. This London I've always seen in the TVs. What does it look like in real life? Immediately I step out of the plane, out of the gates into the Gatwick airport. I'm like, whoa. I started looking around, just seeing how everything was so different, well planned, no dirt on the road, air was fresh and clean. I was like, whoa, wait a damn minute. I'm like, that moment when I stepped onto that new land, a new country, I just knew. I said, damn, I can't live the rest of my days in Nigeria.
I was actually one of the few people that when I started my master's, I was like, I was going to go back to Nigeria. I was saying from day one until maybe 6 months before I graduated. I'm like, bro, I ain't going nowhere. I'm staying here. What do you mean?
When I went back to Nigeria after my master's, my plan was to go back to Nigeria. I'm Nigerian. I love being Nigerian. I've always wanted to be a businesswoman. And I had so many plans, so many visions, so many things I wanted to achieve actually. But going back, I think I went back home I was home for 8 months altogether. Within the first 2 or 3 months, and very, very quickly, I started to realize that things are not, Nigeria is a really hard place. If you've been away for such a long time and you go back, then you begin to see how horrible things are.
For me, I wouldn't say there was one thing. But definitely NSAS really made it clear to me, especially with the speech that the President of Nigeria then, Muhammadu Buhari, gave after that incident.
So-called protesters have invaded an international airport and in the process disrupted the travel plans of fellow Nigerians and our visitors. All this executed in the name of the NSAS protests. Sadly, the promptness with which we have acted seemed to have been misconstrued as a sign of weakness and twisted by some for their selfish, unpatriotic interests.
It was that insensitivity for me, and it's like you've grown to a point where things have gotten bad under your watch. You are fueling the things getting bad, and you don't care. If I was the person there, if I was in a shitty position doing a shitty job, at least I would try and come across as empathetic or save face. But this guy didn't care. He just told us what it was. It was like, you get the consequences of your actions. That was what I deduced from that speech. That's when it actually hit me. Even though I think we're already in the process of leaving, but it was still a matter of, my wife wants us to leave. Yeah, I can see that things are not what they should be. But I won't lie, I didn't have a bad life in Nigeria. I won't even lie. I was okay. I was happy. I was making money. I was content with what I had. I was doing everything I wanted to do. But when you see people like you, it could have been me that was shot at the toll gate. I could have been there. I have strong head. I could have been there, but a lot of things just made me not be there, right? So just seeing that and seeing how your government reacts to that, I feel like NSAS, after that speech, I probably started packing my bags faster.
I felt like I was just going to my master's, get enough knowledge, come back to Nigeria, become a top shot, move and bustle. But one of these things that made me actually even go for my master's, I was working in a company and I was trying to pitch an idea to my CEO because she stays in Aja, so she always comes around. And I did research for 6 months, market planning, campaign, BLT boss. I planned everything. She now came and I had the opportunity to pitch the idea, and the lady was like, oh no, don't worry about that. We have our consultants, KPMG and everybody with them. Like, yo, this KPMG will not give you what maybe they will write it better English, but and data, but they won't give you what I. So she was like, well, in essence, what she was telling me that you're not qualified enough to talk to me. I'm like, So we need to have a master. So I went, for my masters, and when I got to America, the system was just different, bro. Like, that's when it was in America, and I, decided I was not coming back. Was before I thought I was going to come back to Nigeria. But when I moved to America and I saw how life was just easier, like less traffic, you can plan your trip. I used to be in class for 4 hours. For like a whole year, I was going on ferry, and it wasn't safe. They give us like perforated life jackets. I wanted more opportunities for myself. I wanted more for myself. And I felt like the Nigerian system wasn't offering that more. It was like there were few opportunities and there's too many people. And we know what we call like man, no man. It's the person that knows somebody that gets the job, not based on aptitude or ability most times, actually. So for me, I wanted to experience more. I grew up watching films, Western movies, and I loved the life. And I was like, okay, or maybe after school we'll come back, but let's at least enjoy that life small. But when I got into the system itself, everything was easy. I didn't even buy my own car myself. Until I moved to America, I was able to like gather money to buy a car for myself. And it helps you. It makes you develop as a person. You become independent. You grow. Not that you cannot do that in Nigeria. People are actually doing it, but it's just harder.
With Nigeria, I don't think there is a one thing. I think everything comes together to remind you why you have to leave. I was in Ilupeju with my husband and his friends, and we're just chilling outside. I think we wanted to go to the beach or something. We're trying to deliberate. Like, guys, should we go? Should we leave now? Like, how you and your friends are just standing around, just yarning and doing nothing. And next thing we hear gunshots. And then, like, people pull up into the street, like, holding guns. I think they were chasing one woman that had a bag of money or something on a bike. And they wanted to, like, shoot her and steal the money from her and all. And all of us, like, ran into our cars. I think I was even in the car already, and I think I mistakenly locked my husband out. He will never let me hear the end of this story. But, like, this is just the short version of the story. But I'm, like, thinking about it. One of my friends and I just standing around somewhere in broad daylight, and people are just shooting. Like, is that normal? Should that be normal? Like, I don't know, because we say some of these things, and I'm like, maybe I'm not even traumatized for me to just be saying it like this, but why am I standing? Like, just imagine yourself standing in broad daylight, people are just shooting guns, and you could literally have died. Like, you could have been offed in that very moment. I was just at home one day, and I get a phone call, and someone is telling me that a friend of mine, like, just died. How did she die? She was on her way back from work. She was in a bus, and a trailer carrying this container, like, the container fell on the bus that she was in, and it crushed everyone in the bus, including her. That day, when I heard that news, I just started crying. This is someone that I've not even spoken to in a while. The last time I spoke to her was before my wedding, when she was like, oh my God, Tessa, I getting married, congratulations, hope you're inviting me, everything. This person I'm talking about, she used to sit beside me in class, like, legit. Her name is Didi Ajoku. So she used to sit beside me in class. And immediately I got that news, I just went on a mental journey back to everything we went through in secondary school. Like, she used to do my hair, and then, like, imagine both of us, like, going to have our bath, like, together, carrying buckets, really consoling ourselves, saying that, don't worry, we'll leave this dead BMJS one day, we'll go and live our lives. And I'm like, she went through all of that for absolutely nothing, only to get crushed by a trailer. Like, what the heck? When I heard it, like, so many emotions just went through me. I'm like, I'm angry, I'm sad, I'm crying. I'm just like, damn, like, how the heck would this kind of thing happen to such a brilliant, intelligent person? And that's just one person in that bus. Like, there were other people with her. No shade to anybody who is still in Nigeria. Obviously, there always be Nigerians in Nigeria, but I just really wish, because Nigerians are such good people. We are the best thing in Nigeria. We are good, we're intelligent, we're brilliant, we're happy, we're friendly, we're nice, we're smart, hardworking. But just imagine being put in that kind of country and everything is just going wrong and people are dying on the daily.
I'm not tone deaf, or I wasn't blind to all the challenges and all the things that were happening in Nigeria, all the system flaws that could have been better or shouldn't have been the way they were due to bad leadership and corruption. Kudos to Nigerians. I feel like we Nigerians, we adapt a lot. Like even when the situation is bad, when the situation is not ideal, we adapt. We're so smart, we're so innovative, we're so adaptive. So I'd say for me, I wasn't seeing things from I want to leave and I want to leave point of view. It was more of how can I adapt to this environment to make it better for myself. But then I guess living with someone who has a different vision, you kind of, that rubs off on you and you kind of see the light, if I may say so. Were you ever, or anybody close to you, a victim of insecurity in Nigeria?
Was June 12th, the whole Abiola thing. Because we used to live in IB in Ibadan at that time. And I think there was fuel scarcity. And my mom were looking for fuel. It was after the presidential election and, Abiola thing didn't go in and Abacha was about to go in. This was like 1996. I was like super young. We went to go look for fuel. Like, we're not going out of the house for like 3 days because of what was going on. There was riots and all that, right? And before you have to even step out of the house, you have to put green leaf on top of your vehicle to step out. We cut green leaf, front, back, head, everything. We got to, I can't remember where it was, like Molito or something in Ibadan. And I was really young at this time. And I remember, like, we're almost at the filling station where we're going to buy gas. And we just saw a bunch of people coming, like, with sticks, with cutlass, everything. Everything. Like, it was like, my brother was like, down, 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 down. Like, my big bro. He was like, everybody should go down, down, down. And I was used to, when we drove out of the car, like, I would always sit in the back seat and look out through, like, the back glass. Like, see what's going on and, just, like, super active. And for some reason, I took my head out of the car. And I felt something pass right behind my hair. Because I had the scar, like, something came right off my face. Like, it was an arrow or something. Like, I didn't make it up. I saw something come right at me, and it just crept right past my hair. And that was it. My brother was screaming at me. He was like, you must have get jokes in the motor, blah, 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 blah. You shouldn't be, you're always so naughty. You're always putting your head outside, blah, blah, blah. See? Oh, when I swear for die, I want to do it.
I grew up in Mushin, and if you know Mushin, if you know anything about Mushin, Mushin is not the rosiest part of Lagos, right? It has some good parts, but then again, there's a very thin line between the okay parts and the ghetto parts of Mushin. So I'd say for us living in Mushin, it was just that awareness of, hey, where you're living in is not safe. Like, you can't just go out alone. You can't be outside out past certain times. My dad's car got stolen outside our house when we were younger. Just because of the one day he parked it outside the gates because he came home from work late. Like, the whole car was gone. After that, like, there were a lot of times people jumped into our compound. They stole parts from our cars, like, multiple times. And I'm saying, like, this is something that after a while, my dad even raised the fences of the house, but people were still jumping into our compound and stealing stuff. I remember a particular day, it was early in the morning, like 4 or 5 a.m. And my dad's, like, obviously you had to have a car alarm if you're living in Mushin. But my dad's car alarm just kept going off. And I woke up, like, I was like, what's happening? I just went outside. Then I actually saw my dad, like, looking out the window, looking at the person burgling his car. Then he started shouting, ole, ole, which is thief, thief, thief. But this guy legit, he knew nobody was going to come outside or nobody was going to come and stop him. So he legit removed the mirrors of my dad's, it was a C-Class then, a Mercedes. He removed the mirrors and we saw him, like, fly the gate again, and he took it and he left. So all those kind of things, just like, I'm like, we got used to it. Like, imagine a situation where we don't even need to report to the police because they're not going to do shit about it. We just had to keep on taking on measures to protect ourselves by ourselves. I remember this day, I came back, I went to a bar that we used to drink with my friends. I did the normal routine. This was probably like 9 p.m., 9:30 p.m. Came down from the car, I drove in, and as I was walking back to the gate to actually lock the gate, there was like this big chain we used to wrap around the gate. Next thing I hear, gunshots, pa, 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 pa. And if you ever lived in Mushin, you know gunshots are not, they are not a rare occurrence. Like, you hear gunshots every now and then, and you hear the story the next day, right? So I heard gunshots, and I just see people running towards my gate. I just left the chain, and I ran upstairs as fast as I could. Like, I left the car, I left everything. Then we had like it's layers of security. There was that gate. There was a door before you get into the, because it was flats, right? There was a door before you get to the flats with a gate. Then the flat now has its own special gate and its own special door. So immediately I entered that first door downstairs, I bolted everything. I didn't even care who was coming behind me. Then I went to my apartment, waited for the heat to cool off. Then I think later I heard the story of how maybe they were trying to rob someone who just drove by as well. And I'm like, I just drove by, that could have been me. But thankfully, I mean, I wasn't really robbed at home or at like on my street or anything all my while there. So I'm thankful for that.
We have this Toyota Corolla in my family, and I like to see that car as a generational car because this car has been passed down from my brother, no, from my mother to my brother to my sister and to me. And can you believe that for each one of us that has driven that car, they have stolen the brain box? My mother drove that car, they stole the brain box. My brother drove that car, they stole the brain box. My sister drove the car, they stole the brain box. I drove it, they stole the brain box.
Oh, more love, sweet though. Boy, they come at the cost. It's my glass. It's my winder, brain box. Everything gone. I just, God save me. These guys, they don't know the benefit of this perfume. Perfume, you mama now. You got to move on. I want to see. Don't carry everything like this. Love, me not take care of love. Love get repercussion. I can just tell you. It's okay. Now Valentine we come to them say we don't do Valentine with themselves. With love. We will no one see, yeah, we will repair everything at least. So they look like two on the. We don't do Valentine for boys. But now way of street with that.
My husband and I, we went to a hotel for Valentine's Day celebration. This hotel, in fact, they have terrible customer service, no security as well. Knowing very well that the state of security in Nigeria was terrible at the time, they didn't even do anything about it. So anyways, we went to lodge at the hotel for like a Valentine's Day celebration. I think we wanted to have dinner and like go out the next day or something. Anyway, so we parked the car there and we're like, excuse me, can we park this car inside? And they were forming like, oh, there's no space inside. We should just park it outside that the car will be all right. And I'm like, guys, you know that this is a Toyota Corolla. This is hot shit. Let me just put it like that. They always try to rob. Like, no, and I wasn't even thinking about the brain box. Honestly, I was thinking about what if they steal the whole car? What if they steal something in the car? Well, we removed everything from the car, right? So, but we're like, why can't we park inside? Like, we'll just block anybody's car. If someone needs to drive their car out, we'll come and move it away, right? They were like, no, the car will be fine. We should park it outside. Which even makes me think that maybe this was even an inside job. Anyway, so we parked this car outside. You know, we're really chilling in the hotel, go by the swimming pool, me and my baby just drinking our wine, feeling good. Next thing, wake up in the morning and we go to the car. Where is the glass? They've broken the glass. Hey. My husband just knew. He knew that, yes, they've come for the brain box. So he just went straight to where the brain box was and he's like, yeah, they took it. So like, honestly, it's just sad to see. But we like to just call it the generational thing. And my sister, when I told my sister, she's like, yeah, you're really a member of this family now that they're storing the brain box under your watch. So no big deal there. I thank God we had insurance. So yeah.
Growing up, like the place we used to stay, like twice we were robbed in that house. We were coming back from church. And my dad was the treasurer of that church then. It was a small church, place we used to live then. And, you know, they just followed us. And me, like when I was young, I was so playful and I was so loud that when I'm screaming, shouting, everybody already knows, it's that you're normal. And this day, obviously, like they just brought out this huge gun and I was screaming. Nobody moved, nobody knew anything was happening because they just assumed, she and her brother, they are making noise, right? That day was so scary. My sister, you know, she would form, hard babe. That day I heard her. We'll go to church and she would not open her mouth. That day I shouted, blood of Jesus, blood of Jesus, blood of Jesus. So like I was so scared seeing someone that she's my older sister, someone that I look up to being so scared. Obviously, like me, I was just like gone, like dead. That day was really scary. And I was really young. I was maybe 7, 8, or 9. You know, something that I remember, right?
A lot of young people have experienced police brutality, so I just want you to recount or just tell us any experience you've had with the police.
Wow. Police. I mean, first of all, I've said this to my friends. I think I've said to you guys too. I'm thankful to God that I was not in Nigeria when NSAS started or when it blew up, because I know I will try to push myself to the forefront of the fight, because personally, I thought I was crazy. I thought I was doing something wrong. I thought I was, I thought I was just a bad boy. Because that's what it seems like, because every time I go out, either driving, not driving, biking, walking, I'm always encountering the police. I started driving early, so that was like the problem. First problem is driving early. You're driving, you're a young guy, they can already tell. Maybe your head is not facing, you can't see the road clearly and stuff like that. And they pull you over, trying to extort you. I give you my driver's license, the papers, insurance, everything is good. But you always, because I'm too young and you want to ride me, or you feel like I have money to give or something. The most worrying experience for me was, I had this friend, Ayo. He just came back from his master's in the UK, and his father gave him this new muscle. I think it was 2012, thereabout. His father gave him a new muscle, great, clean. Like you said, will know that. Even me, said I like to stay in the car. Like, my guy. So we just went to, this place going to eat amala. If you are from Ikodu, you know you are Silifa. We just went to them, we're just coming back, we're full. Then I just said, skrrr. I was like, why is somebody driving crazy? Then to look back, when you look back and you're following the car, and all of a sudden the car just, crosses you in front, and it just came out, and like 3 people with guns and like pointing. So I thought first of all, I thought they were armed robbers. I was trying to push my guy's hand, because he was still moving, to move this way. And I realized that there were cops. Thoughts were just going through my head, did my guy steal the car? Or was I'm like, no, I know this guy, I know his family, they're legit, full legit. So what is the problem? Then it just occurred to me that, okay, we're young, you're driving a nice car, what is this? Yahoo boy, that profiling. And they came, they told us to calm down. Then people around came, there was a lot of people. And I was like, what's going on next? I just heard in Yoruba they call it want to move on, which means they have caught them, which signifies that I'm a criminal. And I'm not a criminal. We just ate amala, correct ogufe, correct malt. And you're not calling me a criminal. And, it was just so crazy because the guns, they're pointing guns. One stood on the bonnet and had his legs on the bonnet, pointing straight. I was like, what if this guy shoots? And, keep in mind, I've been in 2 accidents where there was accidental discharge or misfire. And I'm like, what's going on here? And he told us to calm down. He came down, harassing us and all that stuff. And, but the thing about police is, at the end of the day, there's always this nonsense when they're not all together. The one that told me to come now told the other guy, we don't catch them today. There's money, we'll extort these guys. I heard it. So when I heard it, I knew that, okay, there's nothing serious. They're just trying to extort us. So I just, went into different characters. I was able to, use my stubbornness to get out of that situation. But it was crazy because, I was like, why would you do that? How do you if you catch a real thief, what would you now do? For people that you just want to extort? If I was in Nigeria during the NSAS, I would be in front because it's not just to me, even my friends. I know how, I had a neighbor who just went to withdraw money from bank and they put him in a Black Maria, and they took all the money from him and they told him, they dropped him somewhere else, and he didn't have money to go back home. He had to call me to come pick him up. So that's just crazy in that country. It's really crazy.
When we went back to Nigeria recently, by we, I'm saying my husband and I, we were also harassed by the police endlessly because they profiled us for starters. My husband has studs on his ears and he has these dreads, mini dreads on his head, as his haircut, right? They profiled us like crazy. Everywhere we would go to, they would stop and they would search us. I'm like, what the heck, man?
I've been a constant customer, not even a victim, of police. Because even before I got my ASPS, before I had my hair like this, I have a very young face, right? A very innocent looking face. I look like a small boy, let me put it like that. I feel like I have so many police stories, I don't even know where to start from.
Every time. Oh, wow.
So the particulars, this is also my ID card. This is particulars, this is also my ID card, it's an office card.
I don't know the carry back. Come on,
I don't understand. And is it a crime?
You say they won't search me. I said, let me bring out my things myself. I say, why you even search me without search warrants? You say they within the rights. Now if they say me will no video, we know they have a right to go on video.
Exactly. So which side are we on? Like which rights are we on?
They really searched us and they found nothing, obviously, but it was very, very unfortunate. And I know that these same police people, like when you call them for something that you really need them for, they're not going to answer you. And it's painful because the real people that are pushing drugs, the real people that are doing fraud and all, they are even paying the police to protect them. But we that were just normal people, just living our lives, doing everything legit, you are harassing us.
I remember once, police stopped me. We're coming from the beach. Then we used to do music. I used to sing. We had a performance at the beach. We were coming back home, my friends and I. Police stopped us. They were searching us. Obviously, they don't have a search warrant or whatever. They were just harassing us, filling us up. They stole our money, by the way. They searched us and in the process stole the money we had on us, the cash we had on us. But there was sand in my wallet, which is obviously we told them we're coming from the beach, right? There was sand in my wallet, and next thing the police goes, cocaine, take the substance, taste it. It's cocaine. Oh yeah, take them in. And I was like, officer, come, that's sand though. Like, don't hurt yourself eating sand. Like, it's not cocaine. But thinking about it, just seeing how issues escalate, that could have easily led to detention. If they probably didn't see money to take from us, it could have led to me being in the cell for the whole weekend, just because there was sand in my pockets, which the police determined by tasting from his mouth was cocaine. So things like that just make you think, like, what the hell is happening? I have a friend who was detained in Shagam. This is my same friend that I was with for almost like 2 nights, just because someone said he was driving a stolen vehicle. The vehicle was registered under his name. And just because he had an extra car key, he was selling cars at the time. And they said, why do you have an extra car key that is not here? Like, you're a Yahoo boy. I mean, it was very easy to get labeled as a Yahoo boy in Lagos. I've also been in a situation where a policeman stopped me and he really grilled me. He was like, what do I do for work? I told him, I showed him my ID card. He was like, oh, how can a small boy like me have this kind of car or afford this kind of car? And at that point, I was probably a manager where I was working. I was like, what do you mean a small boy like me? Obviously, compared to his age, I was much younger, but I was like, hey, like, I went to school, I hustled too. I mean, I'm doing this job and this is how I have money. And it wasn't until I was able to talk to him that he let me go. I can't say how many times the police have extorted me. I've been called a kidnapper before by the police. I was being taken to SCID Panti. I had to make a call on the way, and I called somebody at Lagos State House of Assembly, and that was why they let me go that day. What is this madness? Like, why should my life be at risk just because I'm seemingly doing well for myself? I wouldn't exactly say I was affected by the education system. I would say kudos to the education system I went through. I would say I had a good education. I think I had a good education. So for education, I would say I didn't really suffer from the education system. I went to private schools, to be fair. I went to private schools all my life. Like, my primary school was private, daycare was private, secondary school was private, university was private. So it was more of a controlled curriculum. And I mean, we paid for what we got. So then again, I've heard stories about how the government brought in an initiative to feed primary school children, but they were not getting food. So please tell me where the money was going to. If I was taking it a step further, I would go to NYSC, right, which comes after education. And I've definitely been a victim of corruption in NYSC, because tell me why you people put us in a place that is not fit for even prisoners to live in. Tell me why you were not running generators that you collected money to fuel, and we were just there in the dark sitting down. Tell me why I had to take a shit in a literal sewer with holes because there were no good toilets in my camp.
In terms of the educational system in Nigeria, I would say it's 50-50. It is definitely 50-50, because no matter how bad the standard of living is in Nigeria, I would say there are definitely good schools. And I don't think it's really about the schools. I think it's about the people. Nigerian people who are very educated. We take our education very seriously. We're also very smart, brilliant, and intelligent. So even our teachers, even if many teachers were thrown into terrible school conditions, within them, they were actually very knowledgeable, and they did well as teachers. I would say my primary and my secondary school education was actually very good. Like, my primary school was very, very good. I had a fantastic foundation in terms of everything, even down to speaking English and learning about different subjects, math and quantitative and verbal reasoning and all of that. Like, I definitely had a good foundation. And I know a lot of us definitely had good foundations. Also, my secondary school too, even though many of our teachers were annoying, but I would say that was where I really learned how to read. But everything was going fine until I went to the University of Lagos. Like, I would say, like, sometimes maybe I wish I studied abroad for my university, I don't know. But going to the University of Lagos, very, very terrible. Our lecturers, because I studied law in uni, and in all honesty, I never wanted to study law. I wanted to study mass comm because I always wanted to be in the media. We are like 200 and something in a class, which means you can hardly even have a personal relationship with your lecturer. And then half of the lecturers are trying to sleep with students to give them grades. I would say I didn't learn much, if I'm being honest with you, when I was in school. I tried my best to just read through the textbooks, but even your what you write in the exam may not even have bearing on what your result is going to be like, because people's scripts were getting misplaced. Lecturers had personal vendettas against students, so they'll just give them any kind of scores. Like, I'm telling this to your parents who are funding your education, they'll just be like, no, it's a lie, just go and read. But it was never as straightforward as reading and passing, no. There were hurdles you had to jump in between. I would say foundation was good, but you see that point where it was time to go to university. I guess I just learned how to be street. I learned how to be smart. But in terms of the education, like the book part, I didn't learn nothing. Ask me anything about law, I don't know.
So were you ever affected by poor healthcare systems in Nigeria?
Of course, yes. Very wicked nurses and doctors. I hate needles. Like, when I see needles, like, even till now, like, when I got my COVID test, the doctor was like, what's going on? I thought she came here but I hate needles. I was, 13, 14, and I was really, really sick. Thinking that probably malaria, obviously, but I think it was food poisoning. Obviously, now we have to go do malaria test. And my mom, in my house, if you are pregnant today, my mother will find out today, because if you cough, P tests. P test. Every day we do P test in that house. It was for the best. I'm not even going to lie though, because the fear of that alone is the beginning of every wisdom in the world. Anyway, she took me to the hospital. This woman, very fair woman, big, normal nurse stature in Nigeria. She wanted to give me injection, just to draw my blood, just to see test. Obviously, like, I see the injection and I'm like crying, running. That's why I saying, you are pregnant, Abby. That's why you're running. I was like, God, obviously at first, like, I'm so small in Nigeria, they've ruined all your self-esteem to even talk to adults, to be fighting back. This woman was just saying all sorts. I think she was even antagonizing my mom, she started getting worried. As if she did not know that normal, if you want to give me injection, like, I hate it, right? Eventually, I'm like, you know what, I don't want this woman to give me the injection. I want somebody else, like, don't touch me, blah, blah, blah. Someone else came in as the good cop. No, bad cop, good cop. She came in. Fine girl. This one, down. Take it now. She said, don't worry. You don't know anything. Childbirth is even harder. Bro, I'm 13. I was in high school. Like, what's my business? Like, they took me far that day. I thought about a lot of things.
When I was nine-ish, around 9 or 10, I was in secondary school. I think I just started secondary school. I had a birthday party to go for in Bagada in one of my friends' houses. I can never ever forget this event. Now, we went for this birthday party. It was a small party. It was all done and good, and we were going back home. We had an older driver then, so the driver was taking me back home. We were on Bagada Expressway. And if you know anything about Nigeria, I don't know if the situation is really different now, but I mean, people cross anywhere and anyhow. Express, people cross. Pedestrian bridge is right there, people cross. This one, I didn't even know if there was a pedestrian bridge on that bridge at the time, but it was the norm for everybody to just cross the bridge. And I think it was a thing where the drivers are so confident that nobody wants to die, so they will cross before the car hits you. So them too, they won't slow down, they'll just be going. And I remember we were just going at high speed. I don't even know if it was high speed or low speed, we were just going. And next thing, the driver collides with a woman, and this woman is inside the windscreen. Like, the windscreen literally caved in. It was a full-blown accident. And I was just like, how old then? Maybe 9 or so. I was just me and the driver. I was sitting, and in my mind, I was like, God, like, what's happening? Like, blood everywhere. Before you knew it, we were on the side of the road. People have started gathering around. Everybody's trying to look for the next course of action. If it was a normal country, maybe you call 911. An ambulance would come. with the spangled body or whatever and come and do CPR or know the best route of action to save the person's life. But then it was the only course of action was for you to transport that person to the hospital yourself. It was a case of them bringing the woman's body. The woman was unconscious, obviously. Bringing her body and putting her in the car. Ah, God. I remember how bloody those seats were. I think it was my mom's car then. The seats were so bloody. So they put the woman in the car. And then they got someone else to drive. They were asking randomly who knows how to drive. Like it was a stick. Who knows how to drive a manual car. I think they got someone to drive. So the driver and I sat in front, 2 of us in front. Then they had to have additional people follow. Just because there was a thing in Nigeria then where if you hit somebody, like hit and run now. If you hit and you don't run and you say you want to take the person to the hospital, then you could go halfway and abandon the person on the road. So some other people too followed for quality control. Now, this accident happened in Bagada. I'm already a kid in the car with the windscreen caved in. There's blood everywhere. There's somebody that is about to die behind me in the car. Bear in mind, I've never seen somebody in an accident before. I've never seen, maybe on TV, even on TV, they'll cover my eyes that time when I was small, right? Now, we took her to the closest hospital. It was a private hospital, Arjolad, I can never forget. We took her to Arjolad. We were there for about maybe an hour or so. They didn't accept this person. I don't know if it was a deposit they were asking for or trying to do a criminal investigation, I don't know. But we were there for a while. They wasted time, no CPR, no nothing, no emergency first aid treatment. They told us they couldn't accept the person. Now, we took that person again to Bagada General Hospital, which is a government hospital. We were at Bagada General Hospital for hours. I was a kid, so I wasn't privy to the conversations they were having. We were there for a longest time. Nothing happened. They didn't treat this woman. They ended up saying they didn't have space. After wasting about 2 or 3 or 4 hours, we now had to drive this person that is losing blood per second to the island. I remember being there, Lagos Island, for a long time. I think I saw the body again when we got to that hospital. And I was just so scared. And I was like, in my mind, now that I think about it, like if she had just gotten first aid or gotten like care on the first place she went to, maybe she would have survived. But like it was just so many transferring, so many people rejecting her, so many hospitals rejecting her. I couldn't even imagine that. I couldn't place it. I think I had to walk. My church was close by then, so someone walked me to my church. Then I took a bus back home.
I was definitely affected by poor healthcare system. Like I mentioned before, like growing up in Nigeria, I was always sick, and I won't lie, there were some times where the healthcare system was definitely good to me, which is why I'm still alive today for sure. I was close to death based on the Nigerian healthcare system, but also I remember when I was admitted into a certain hospital, and what happens to me, and this is what I always tell people, like even here as I'm in Canada, like whenever I want to draw blood, because I haven't been admitted into any hospital here, so whenever they want to draw blood, I always tell them that, oh, my veins are really tiny, they are hard to find, so you have to work extra hard to get blood from me. And they are always like, oh, thank you for telling me. So they'll go and get like smaller needles. They like take other precautions because they know that my veins are really small and it's hard to draw blood, right? But then in Nigeria, I always try to tell them some of these things. First of all, they don't even listen to you. They just do what they want to do. They don't even care. So I was admitted into this hospital. I think I had malaria, and I had to take a drip, and they were giving me meds and all and injections, right? So I told them, I was like, whenever I take drips, they don't last long in my hand. So you have to keep switching them out. So like today, let's say you give me a drip, it's going to swell up by tomorrow. So tomorrow, just be ready to come and change it. So I try to let them know in advance. As long as I'm here, you're going to have to keep switching these drips like from here to here to here to here. Because even me, I know my body, and I'll tell you, right? It's not easy, but that's just what it is. So they try to give me the drip. And even when you want to put the drip in my hand, it's hard. Like you literally insert this thing like in like 3 different places before you now find the right spots, which they did. It took time. They put the drip in, and then I think it lasted me for a day, and it started swelling up like the next day. And I'm like, okay, guys, you have to come and change this thing. So this nurse wanted to give me an injection, because you know how they always switch out the drip line and then they put the injection in and they put the drip line back. And then this nurse came, my hand was already swelling up, and she wanted to give me an injection. I said, you know what, before you give me this injection, I think you should change the drip line first, because it's not going to work. This one was like, no, what's there? Come on, I'm going to do it for you. You know, Nigerian nurses today are also wicked. I really told her, I was like, no, you can't put this in through. You know, this woman didn't answer me, and she wanted to start forcing this injection through. And the crazy thing is that you know how your body is like, it won't even pass through if it's already blocked. And because that's why it's swollen up, right? Because it's already blocked by like maybe blood clots or whatever. And she was still trying to push and force this injection liquid through. And I was literally screaming and shouting until my husband came in and I was like, what's all this force? He's like, no, you can't give her this injection through this thing. She has already told you. Like as an adult, I was crying. I was literally crying that guy's thing is hurting me too much. Until they now eventually changed. I'm like, what the heck? Like, what's wrong with you people? Like, why do you guys do things like this? Because you can even see that the liquid is not even going through and we're trying to force it in. So definitely that's part of the poor healthcare system that we're talking about, because it's not going to cost you anything but time, which I'm already paying for, to just switch out the drip line and administer this thing properly.
So I'm going to ask you about job opportunities and career opportunities. So were you ever affected by unemployment or not enough job opportunities based on your aspirations in Nigeria?
You know, I used to always say that I was unlucky because I studied international relations in Nigeria as my first degree. So I thought that, you know, my aspiration was to work in an embassy or, you know, be like a diplomat. That was how I saw myself, and I hoped that, you know, that was going to come to pass. But the year that I graduated from university, there was an hiring freeze in the Federal Civil Service, so there was no way of getting in, except again you have leg to you know to get in, right? My leg was not strong enough, so there was no way to get into the embassy or to work in the foreign missions or any of that stuff, right? So it was a bit of a letdown for sure. And then you started applying like everybody else that got out of university, like you, to like jobs, to like MTM, Glow. At the time, those were like the jobs that everybody that came out of university would always get. I remember going to one of those interviews where it was like a group interview, and they were like, like eight people that were looking to get interviewed, and there was like a panel of judges, and they will ask you a question and you just kind of answer. And I got one of those jobs, and they offered, I think the offer was like 60,000 naira or something. Probably doesn't sound like a lot, but at the time, I was like, I know how much I paid in private university to come out and be taking a job for 50,000 naira, and the deal was like what? 480,000 a year. I think that was the point where I was like, wait. And again, the job was in Lagos. So imagine me waking up at 6 a.m. in the morning, like 5 a.m. actually, to get to Lagos on time on the island to go do this interview. Like I left the house, I left IB like 4 o'clock to go do this interview. It was expensive, obviously, taking, cab from here to here and, trying to make it to the interview, and they offer you 6,000. I'm thinking, I'm not even going to be able to start up and afford an apartment. For me, I would say I've been pretty blessed as well. I wouldn't say I've really suffered from unemployment. I've literally had a job every time, and I moved from a job to another, like when I was in Nigeria as well. But I know people close to me that didn't get jobs for months. I know people who didn't get jobs for years. So I'm not ignoring that there's that challenge of that workforce unemployment saga, right? There was this job I went for. It was a private company, group of companies in advertising. I had literally gotten the job. Offer. I had literally done medicals. Nothing was wrong with my medicals, if you were wondering. Only for me to not get the job after everything. I thought it was just okay, I don't know, maybe something went wrong or whatever, but I heard inside gist that someone actually gave out my slot to somebody else.
I was fortunate to have been employed all the while I was in Nigeria shortly after school, because I think when I was done with university, I think I only worked for like 3 or 4 years before leaving to Canada, so it wasn't that long. But while I was in Nigeria, I was privileged to have been employed, thankfully. But I'll just give one story though. I was actually catfished into some form of employment. So I remember I saw an ad for a social media manager, and I went for the interview. I really got all prepped. I showed up, bamboozled them with all my knowledge of social media and all my knowledge of strategy and marketing and everything, only for me to resume our work I think the next couple days, and this lady is like, okay, so I have to follow her driver to go pick up her dry cleaning. I have to go drop something for her kids in school. Excuse me. She must have thought that maybe she was Miranda Priestley from Devil Wears Prada or something. I don't know, but I was like, girl, you asked me to come and be your social media coordinator, not your personal assistant. I don't even know. I don't think I even quit or anything. I just didn't show up again after like 3 days. I'm like, you must be joking. You must be joking. And I think her office was like in Lekki, literally a stone's throw from my house, like 5 minutes walk from my house. I'm like, I live in Lekki with you, and you want to be sending me to be your personal assistant? You are joking. I didn't even show up again. I was like, yeah, no. But thankfully, I was employed when I was in Nigeria. I was privileged in that regard. So I can't even say unemployment affected me.
All my experiences before never felt scary. However, my scariest experience was when I actually left and came back, because obviously now there's a differentiation in my brain of this is right and this is wrong. So this day, I can't remember where I was going, probably somewhere random. I was going out with my sister, right? She literally sat beside me. She's always lived in Nigeria as well. There was this keke napep right in front of us. Obviously, I wasn't in the keke napep, but essentially this baby's head just came out of the keke napep. You could see someone holding the child. I don't know if she had multiple kids or whatever, but I kid you not, for about maybe 5 or 10 minutes on that road just going, the child's head was literally outside the keke napep. Obviously in my mind I'm like, this child, like I was filming, I was trying to get the driver, move closer, let's tell them and everything. And my sister was just like, oh, na so they run am jare. And obviously, that sounds bizarre, but a year and a half ago, before I left, what was my business? What it concern me? Made the child come out. I think there's a Nigerian thing where you don't care. Everybody's just, sharp. Before you go and talk now, they'll slap you or they'll be cussing. You get everybody, there's this thing of I don't care, mind my business, because you don't know how the other person is going to react. Nigerians are fight you anyway. I can't judge the mother and say she's a horrible person or whatever, because damn, she could be coming from a very hard job. She could have been up since 4 a.m. knowing Lagos traffic and all of that. But that was very scary for me, because I just kept thinking and obviously Okada, piao, going close and everything, and no one thought to say hey. And me that was trying to get the people around me to move, they were just I beg, free us.
Right after my final exam in school, came back home, my parents were upstairs, heard a loud bang outside of the house, came outside of the house, asked the gate man to look at what was going on outside, and I heard another bang, and then I heard my mom and my sister, they were upstairs, the balcony, I heard them screaming. I went back upstairs into the house, ran up there, and from there I saw the whole thing that happened. Our neighbor was getting robbed, or I wouldn't say robbed. It seemed like sort of an assassination. The bad guys came in all black clothing. It was a little late. It was like 7 o'clock. I still remember the program that was playing on TV that I was watching downstairs was Moments with Mo. I ran upstairs to go see what was going on. So the loud bang I heard was the car running into the gate. By the time I got upstairs, they shot the gate man. My mom was like, "Look, ile, lie down inside our house." Anyway, we saw the whole thing happen. There were some other guys in the car. They came out of the car. They had big ass guns, but at the end of the whole thing, it lasted for I think 15 minutes. Really scary 15 minutes. The guys just drove off. They drove like nothing happened. It was the scariest, and we had gunshots back and forth, people screaming. There was commotion, there was panic. While this whole thing was going on, we saw an army man in his army clothing walking and he walked right past in front of the house and didn't do anything. So we ran outside. We were like, what happened? But that's what you shoot up here? We went into our neighbor's house. I don't know what made us do it, But we went into the neighbor's house. We found one of the guards, because I think they used to have 4 guards. The other guards were in the gutter, were screaming, "Who's here?" Blah blah blah. The man was just groaning, and he had been shot. Like, there was blood all over the ground. So I was like, geez, like, I'd never experienced something like that in my life before. Myself and my brother came out and we're like, oh, like, the man is still breathing, he's still alive. We have to help this man. So we ran back into the house, told my mom we're going to do it. My mom was like, what? We'll rush him to the nearest hospital or whatever. Like, it was just adrenaline. Like, we just run. Everything was going so fast. We put him into the car and we thought about the closest hospital to the house, which should have been like 4 minutes drive. So we thought, oh, for sure, like, it's still breathing, it's fine, it was groaning, we'll save this man's life. As we're going to the hospital, we came across a police convoy of policemen in the car. Half of my body was outside of the car because the man was really tall when he took the whole back seat. My brother was driving the car and half of my body was outside. The policemen didn't even ask us what happened. We're like, oh, robbery. And they just drove off like nothing happened. Second time we saw, security operatives not doing anything. We drove to the hospital really fast. Took one way into the hospital. Going to the hospital, people saw us driving that fast from like the petrol station right by the hospital. So they came up there and they saw what was happening and people were like, next thing there was a lot of people. We called out the doctor. Doctor said, oh, we can't take the man here. He said, the only people that can treat gunshot wounds in Nigeria are federal hospitals, like, teaching hospitals. So I was like, so you have to go to, this was in IB in Ibadan. We had to go to UCH. UCH was like, probably like a 20 minutes drive from where we were. At this point, I was like, just do something. Like, just do, like, you can't tell me you're going to let this man die. Just do something. Man was like, I can't do anything. I can't touch it. They'll come. I'm like, just do something. Like, you took an oath. Like, just do something. So the man said, okay. And people started, screaming and saying, hey, Shenko, come now, So he put a bandage over the guy, like one bandage, and he said, this is all I can do. You guys have to go now. You have to leave. So we left. We drove one way. And, we got to, like, Mokola, if you know Ibadan, like, we're close to UCH. We got almost to the front of UCH and we ran over a massive stone and the car just stopped working. My gate man was in front car with me and he was saying, just keep praying. Like, and the man kept on praying, like, you're going to make it, and you're cool, things like that. I came down on the road. I had no footwear on, like barefooted. I got on the road. All the keke napep started. Cars were, I was like, stop, like we're almost right there, right? Cars were swerving, like, nobody wanted to stop. At the end of the day, I ended up grabbing the keke napep and we forcefully, the guys that were inside the car jumped out thinking we're robbers. Any amount of money that you want, keke napep, will just take us into the hospital. We need to save this man's life. Took him to the car, we transferred the man with blood. Like, I could see his bones coming out. Blood just gushing out. It was crazy. It's the craziest thing I ever experienced. Now, you would think that we're at the hospital. Everything is done. UCH is supposed to be like the biggest teaching hospital in West Africa or something at the time, The emergency place, we got there, jumped right out again, barefooted, ran into the hospital. We need to save this man's life, gunshot wound. I saw doctors at the emergency unit and I was like, can someone help us? And the doctor was like smiling right at me and he said, what's the story? I was like, what? Like, there's someone dying in the car. Like, we need to get him out and we need to save this man's life. He said, no, tell us what happened. What was the story? I was like, wait, how does this help save this man's life? So I started saying, this is what happened, blah, 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 blah. And I was saying, I was like, can someone help him? So my brother got impatient and came into I was like, what the hell is going on? Was screaming or whatever. And he was like, intern, Kule, go and bring the stretcher. I was like, what? At the end of the day, after they heard the story, they all went their way. We had to help bring the man on top of the stretcher, roll them into the hospital, and then we had to start writing requisitions of where we were going to pay. While this man was sitting just groaning, like he was losing blood and, he felt like, we could see, like he was still speaking, At the end of the day, luckily, somehow I had my wallet with me. We paid in like 4 different places. In the space of like 30 minutes, like we all spread each other out. Everybody go pay, right? They said we have to pay before they can treat this man. But when we came back, they moved him into the operating room. And believe you, or believe me, they didn't have enough people working at the emergency. We had to put on gloves. and we're helping. They didn't also UCH didn't have I don't know what the medical term is or what they used to stop gunshot wounds. This is supposed to be like one of the biggest hospitals in Nigeria. They didn't have what they were going to use to stop gunshot wounds. So we put bandage and it was big. Like we're helping roll the bandage over this man's leg inside the operating room. As we're rolling it, the blood kept on coming out. Kept on pumping. And the man was still talking. I was still speaking. So like, this guy's a fighter, you know. He's going to survive, whatever it is. He was still speaking and was groaning. We thought that we had saved this man. By the time we were still living, the man even said, I remember his words, "Eshegon, thank you for saving my life," you know. And I was like, wow, like where do I even begin to unpack what just happened? I couldn't sleep. Like to even start with, I went back into the house. We're like, we need new locks. Like, what if those guys saw us helping this man? Were involved. So many things was going through. So I didn't sleep all night. The next morning, the landlords association came into the house after hearing what happened, and they wanted to come and greet us like heroes. One of the landlords said, "Oh, you guys did your best." And I was like, "What do you mean? We did our best?" Like, "Oh, like the man died. He passed." I was like, "What?" Like, it passed. So that was the point it hit me that, you know, whatever you do, like all the efforts, the all running around, you know, life does not mean a thing in Nigeria.
There was actually one time when I fell ill and I literally thought I was going to die. When I was younger, like I used to fall sick a lot. But then there was this one time where I fell ill. They took me to the hospital that they normally take me to, or they would normally take me to when I was sick. And then I realized that I was throwing up. What happened is that, let's say I'm okay now, then I start to feel nauseous, then I throw up. Then they give me a sedative, I sleep off, I wake up, I throw up again. Then they'll give me another sedative, I'll sleep off, I'll wake up, and I'll vomit again. And I think all that while they were like passing drips through me. At that moment, it's like they didn't know what was wrong with me and they didn't have the adequate equipment to detect what was wrong with me. So even my parents were like already panicking and they're like, what's going on? And even me, like, I just knew that I wasn't getting treated. And you know how as a human being, you know your body, no matter how young you are, like you know your body, you know whether you are feeling better or not, you know whether the treatment you're giving you is working. Like you just know your body. Like, so I tried to explain to them and look that I'm not feeling fine. Like whatever you're giving me is not working for me. I'm just throwing up, I'm sick. It wasn't until I started vomiting like this yellow liquid thing, like I was retching, I was just vomiting it, and my brother was like, whoa, because I think my brother was also sick or something, and he's like, something is wrong here, like you guys, we need to do something about this girl or else she's going to die, like for real. So I think my parents came and they had to like move me to another hospital, and in this hospital we were even complaining like, oh, why would you take her away, like we're treating her, and they're like, no, you're not treating her, she's only falling even sicker. And I think I remember passing out, like I remember the moments where they took me out of the hospital ward. I blanked out. I remember being put into the car. I blanked out again, and then I wake up. I'm in a whole different hospital. So like they had to even call. They called, I think, one of our reverends. They came and he prayed for me, and they had to like give me some medicine and some drips. So it's like the new hospital they took me to. Those ones actually knew what was wrong with me, and they started treating me for it then and there. So I'm like, imagine if my parents couldn't afford, taking me to a different hospital and paying. Because this hospital was on the island, right? I mean, I knew that there was a lot of money involved. So imagine them like not being able to cough out that much money and say, you know what, admit this girl, figure out what's wrong with her. Like I could have just died because I was already passing out. Like I fainted, I was gone, I was sick. Like if you had seen me, I was emaciated. Like that was really, really scary for me. And I'm like, I cannot even imagine being on the opposite side of things. Like imagine me watching my own child wash away and die in my front like that.
Scariest experience I ever had in Nigeria. I wouldn't say it's one experience. I've been through some shitty experiences in Nigeria like that were legit scary, but like I said, it was just so easy to adapt and get used to everything. At the end of the day, everything is just cruise, everything is banned. But I'd say for me, what was really scary about living in Nigeria wasn't one experience. It was an everyday fear, which I felt. A fear for my life, a fear for my security, a fear for my belongings. And it was mostly due to the fact of, I would say when you're seemingly doing well in Nigeria, when you seem to have it together, I mean, you're living a good life, you have a good job or a good business, you have the means, you drive a good car, you live in a nice place, you tend to be a target for a lot of stuff. First of all, you tend to be a target for people who want to extort you or bill you or tax you. You tend to be a target for armed robbers. You tend to be a potential target for kidnappers. You tend to be a target for police harassment. You tend to be a target for traffic robbery, which is rampant in Nigeria. So I'll just say, people thinking that you're successful, that was it for me. I wouldn't say I was successful. I was okay, but the fact that I seemed successful made me a target, and you could feel it around you. Like, you could hear people saying things about you, even in your neighborhood. There were a lot of rumors that flew around when I was living in Surulere about me, who were not true, but I knew that, hey, this thing was bringing a lot of heat, a lot of eyeballs to me and all of that. So I'd say it was just that constant fear. Trust me, it's not a good feeling when you're always watching your back, and that's something I had to do every day in Nigeria. You had to be 2 steps ahead. You had to lock your gates, lock your cars. You had to be vigilant in traffic, look left and right. Like, it was a lot. It's stressful.
Will you go back to Nigeria for a 10 million naira monthly salary?
No.
You won't?
No.
It depends.
How much is that in dollars?
Are you joking? I'm so in Nigeria.
I'll go back to Nigeria for 10 million a month if you give me security and healthcare.
Would I want to? No.
I'm sorry, that's not enough money to get me to go back to Nigeria.
It's not even about the money. Honestly, even if I earned $3,000 monthly here, I think I'm okay because I have peace of mind.
What's the point of having 10 million naira if you have a medical emergency and, you know, your life will not be safe?
I love my bag that much. Like, I love my bag. Like, my dream in life is to live a comfortable life. Like, and most of that stems from money, right?
What if it was like 30,000 Canadian dollars a month net?
No.
I won't lie, yes and no. So yes, I do miss Nigeria. I miss my life in Nigeria. I miss my friends, my family members. I miss them. They're also relocating a lot these days. But I'll say I do miss like the parties. I miss every weekend was like a story in Nigeria. It was a movie. Like back to back, we had weddings, we had all of that. I'm not happy to miss like my friends' key moments. Like I have friends who have kids now that I don't even know. I have friends who have gotten married that I don't even know their wives. I miss working in Nigeria as well. It was a different vibe working in Nigeria. I really worked with some amazing people in Nigeria. We had like good relationships. We even had businesses on the sides. We used to hang out together. I miss that culture, I won't lie. I miss the Nigerian culture, like the actual culture of it. But for no part, I don't miss being harassed by the police. I don't miss that anxiety. Here, I've had like this calm, this peace of mind. I can go out anytime I want to. And it's not like shit doesn't happen here too. Like things happen here too. But I'm coming back home from the club and I don't have to hide my phone under my seat. I don't need to take off my jewelry. So it's just a different vibe, right? But I do miss like the culture and the people.
Obviously, I miss home. Like, it's hard waking up every day to people that are different from you. You know, it sounds weird to say, right? But Nigeria, fight, aggressiveness, they are your people, you know. These are the people you grew up around. They are your DNA almost, right? Someone annoyed me recently and I was saying, all my saved up energy, if I unleash it on you, that's by the way, Sha. But I do miss home, obviously, every day, especially because I miss my parents. I miss home, yeah. And I don't miss home as well.
I definitely do miss my friends. I can't even say I miss my family at this point because a lot of my family is finding their way out of Nigeria. I don't think I even really have family in Nigeria like that because my parents are there, but they travel out a lot. But my friends, I do miss my friends, and some of my friends are starting to move out of Nigeria. I wish a lot of them would. Maybe there was a time where I had that little glimmer where I was like, I might be missing the food, I might be missing the parties. But going back to Nigeria recently, I realized that no, I don't miss that. But I would say though, I'm very grateful being here now. I would say I'm very grateful that I grew up in Nigeria. I'm grateful I have the Nigerian sense. But I won't necessarily say I miss Nigeria that much.
I miss Nigeria a lot, right? You know, I wish I was back in Nigeria. Sometimes it gets boring here, it gets lonely here, You know, you wish you're back with family. You wish that, you know, you're not missing like the important, you know, birthdays and the weddings and the owambes and everything that happen in Nigeria, and you know, you're stuck in a cold land. And I'm making it sound bad, but like, you know, it's just that you're missing like important things in life of, you know, family and relatives that are back home. Again, you think sometimes that why are you here, right? And you wish that things were better in Nigeria. Like you wish that if only we had this, like you'd go back. But yeah, but things are not the same, right? So we're here, so we thank God.
Do I miss Nigeria? Maybe the people, family, maybe because I was there for like, 20-something years of my life. However, what's there to miss? Street food, maybe Dirty December, which I've never even done. So I don't know what I'm missing. Church everywhere, but honestly, maybe family. But aside from that, I don't miss Nigeria, honestly. There's some basic amenities you need to have in life. Basic things that you shouldn't be praying about. Electricity shouldn't be a problem. If you don't have a car, but you have the means to get a car, access to loans, access to certain things shouldn't be without, neck-breaking interest. A lot of things shouldn't be a problem. But like traffic, we look at also entertainment. Yeah, and there's entertainment in Nigeria, but I'm the kind of guy that I like to watch football. But is it safe to go and watch Super Eagles? Sometimes, let's say the truth, right? Sometimes I can go out at 4 a.m. I know that I'm fine, is it the same thing there? I've had cars here, US and here. All I have done is just change the oil. Your car is fine. Doesn't give you any issues. There's some words I've not heard in like 6 years of my life. Crankshaft, Boris, welder. And those are the basic amenities you need to. You're stressing of how to, move forward in life. Go into a new career, go into business. Those are the things that you need to be thinking about. Not okay. I'm thinking about business. This car, or it's just crazy.
There was a time that I had plans to relocate back to Nigeria. The original plan again was to go to school here, get the education, get permanent residency in Canada, go back to Nigeria because Nigeria is where the money is at. Everybody knows that, right? After, all of the stories that we see on social media, things are not what they are. Like when you go back, you realize that. When people say, Nigeria don't bad now, it's not just the lamba, like it's an actual thing. I remember going to Occupy Nigeria protests. Fuel was $65, 65 naira a liter. 65 naira a liter. And I was reading yesterday that fuel is now 800 naira a liter. Oh, diesel. This is 800 naira a liter. The prices of things, the prices of, like, honestly, I don't understand how people survive in Nigeria.
Nah, I don't have a plan. Well, right, anything can change in life, right? But right now, I have no plans to go back to Nigeria to stay. But I can go to visit, I have my parents back there, family, just go say hi, and come back to base. But aside from that, I don't have any plan to just say, you know what? I'm leaving. I'm going back to Nigeria. I love the life. Hell no. There has to be like a psychological shift. That's a heavy psychological shift in the way we do things as people, right? And it's hard. It's not going to change. It's hard to change that. Only if you want to first clear everybody that is there now, and you start from like beginning fresh, and then instill new values and everything maybe. But nah.
I don't have plans to relocate back to Nigeria. As of this moment, I don't have plans to relocate back to Nigeria. But I'm just saying, as of this moment, maybe God has plans for me because I'm a Nigerian. I'll always be a Nigerian. Even if I get a passport from another country, they will still write it there that your place of birth is Nigeria. So I can't completely be foolish and say I want to just depart and remove Nigeria from who I am. I am a Nigerian at heart. This is who I am. I sound like a Nigerian and I look like a Nigerian. Right now, I don't have any plans of going back, but we never know what may happen in the future.
Do you know what? It's actually really funny. Like, I and my husband talked about it. If I were to go back to Africa, I will go back to Ghana. Just from the information online, because that's all we have, right? They are, developing a lot faster, and they are very peaceful people for the most part. They will match my energy and still give me a bit of African, so which is nice. Going back to Nigeria will be hard, except if we have a very good government that there's hope for change. However, in this very moment, the answer to that will be no. Because if I'm old, I definitely need more health care. So it'll be hard to go to Nigeria. Nurses in Nigeria are very wicked. They can beat you, slap you, anything can happen. It's the truth. Like, a lot of people, when you have like grandmas and things like that, like, you have to monitor the person taking care of them because they do evil things to them, right? So Ghana will probably be more ideal as an African place I would want to go back to if they continue that progression and they continue to progress. But yeah, for now, my immediate future, I see myself grounded in the land of Canada.
If I had like strong business opportunities in Nigeria, then I would probably be shuttling between Nigeria and North America. Never say never, like, you don't know, like, I don't know where my mind space will be at, right? I might if it makes sense, but right now I don't know if that would be the right move. Maybe if I grew older and I'll join the government, like, to make things better in Nigeria, then maybe that would be a natural transition to retiring in Nigeria, right? But right now I can't envision myself retiring in Nigeria because right now I'm just hustling here, right? And I don't have that end in mind at the moment.